It happened. Washington is lifting the restrictions. Tomahawks are on their way to Ukraine. Senator Graham is demanding that missiles be sent to Ukraine. America is ready to put an end to the aggressor. A bipartisan bill is already on the table. Watch out Russian factories and oil rigs. Meanwhile, Russia is on fire. Ukrainian Flamingos have unleashed hell in Volgograd. The main missile arsenal and an oil refinery have been blown up. The Rashists in Crimea got hit too. The Russian fleet lost a boat and their air defense lost its eyes. Chronicle of the occupiers' destruction. Right now. Watch until the end. My respects, this is Ukraine Today. I, Andriy Silikov, have prepared some good news for you. In Munich, a signal was sounded that sent a chill down the spines of Russian generals. Influential Republican Senator Lindsey Graham took the podium and spoke directly. Enough with half measures. Sanctions aren't working as they should. So it's time to change things. The language of conversation. Graham officially called for the transfer of the legendary American Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. And they have only one goal, the physical destruction of the Russian military machine.
I want to give Ukraine Tomahawks. I want the US to provide Tomahawk missiles so that strikes can be carried out on the infrastructure that Putin relies on to produce drones and other weapons. I want to change the military balance.
And these are not just the words of a single politician. Graham confirmed it. A ready bipartisan bill is already in the Senate, signed by 85 co-authors, both Republicans and Democrats. America is uniting to deliver a decisive blow to Putin. The plan is simple. Tomahawks strike factories and the oil industry, while the economic noose tightens around the necks of those who still dare to buy Russian oil. Washington has made it clear. The time for persuasion is over. It's time to break the aggressor's back. But while the Senate prepares the documents, Ukraine is already turning Russia's rear lines into a branch of hell. Our defense forces are not waiting, they are taking action. Our newest long-range missiles, beautifully named Flamingo, paid a visit to the Volgograd region. This was reported by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. The result, a grandiose fireworks display at the arsenal of the main missile and artillery directorate in Kotluban. The base is detonating so powerfully that it can be heard for dozens of kilometers.
The windows have all been completely blown out by the force of the impact, leaving shattered glass everywhere, and the massive explosions are still relentlessly going off one after another in the distance.
This arsenal is one of the largest storage sites for ammunition in the Russian army. The strike on the arsenal was carried out by Ukrainian long-range FP5 Flamingo weapons. Powerful explosions were recorded at the site, followed by secondary detonations.
And that's not all. Ukrainian drones have also reached the enemy's oil heart. The destruction of the main primary oil processing unit at the Volgograd plant has been confirmed. The plant has essentially come to a halt. And in the Tambov region, in the city of Michirinsk, the Flamingos sent a fiery greeting to the progress plant where modern equipment for missiles was being produced. We are methodically knocking the ground out from under the enemy's feet. No shells, no gasoline, no missiles.
The enterprise is involved in supplying the Russian army. According to preliminary information, a fire broke out on the plant's premises. The results and scale of the damage are being clarified.
Crimea is not lagging behind either. The General Staff has confirmed it. The peninsula is being cleared of occupiers according to plan. In the area of Novozernoye, the Russian BK-16 landing craft was sent to the bottom. In Gvardeyskoye, our missile troops blinded the enemy's air defense by destroying a radar station. And in the Zaporizhzhia region, a communications hub and ammunition depots were blown up. A perfect picture. The US is preparing Tomahawks for a final strike, but Ukraine is already showing with its own forces that there is no safe rear in Russia. Not in Crimea, not on the Volga, not in Tambov.
The defense forces of Ukraine will continue to systematically take measures aimed at weakening the combat potential of the Russian aggressor. To be continued. Glory to Ukraine.
There is more to come. Aid to Ukraine is growing at a cosmic speed. $38 billion. This is not just a number, it is one of the most powerful aid packages in the entire history of the full-scale war. Our allies are betting on our victory. This colossal resource is becoming a true foundation for a decisive breakthrough at the front. This is already a direct declaration of the occupiers' defeat. Details to follow in the report.
One of the largest military aid packages of the entire war. The latest Ramstein meeting ended with a major victory for Ukraine and a personal triumph for Defense Minister Mikhailo Fedorov. As a result of the meeting, the partners confirmed the allocation of $38 billion in military aid to Ukraine. The funds will go toward drones, air defense systems, and Patriot missiles.
Importantly, the Ramstein format has been preserved, despite changes in the approach of the United States, where the Donald Trump administration has focused on selling weapons. The Ramstein format remains one of the key mechanisms. These mechanisms make it possible to plan arms purchases several months ahead in the medium term.
For example, Minister Fedorov stated that more than $6 billion have already been allocated in specific aid packages, including over $2.5 billion for Ukrainian drones, more than $500 million for the Purel program, $2 billion for air defense, as well as funds for artillery ammunition and the preparation of naval operations.
Furthermore, it is essential to consider that these developments are significantly impacting various other geographical areas and professional sectors as well. Beyond the primary scope we have discussed, it is also particularly worth noting separately that the long-term implications for these regions deserve a much more thorough and detailed analysis to fully understand the broader consequences of these ongoing changes.
That Ukraine has reached agreements with a number of European partners on the urgent delivery of Patriot missile systems from their stockpiles. For security reasons, the quantity is, of course, not disclosed.
In the future, Ukraine needs reliable security guarantees. I am absolutely confident that the flow of vital American weapons to Ukraine will continue. As I have already mentioned, about 90% of Ukraine's critically important air defense needs are met by Patriot missile systems, and I am absolutely certain that this flow will continue. At the
very forefront of those who is traditionally ready to ensure this flow, London and Berlin. For example, the United Kingdom is allocating £500 million for air defense and another £150 million for the Purel initiative. Overall, £3 billion have been allocated for military aid to Ukraine in 2026. This time, Germany has focused on drones. At least $1 billion will be allocated for the purchase of drones. Germany is also investing in air defense and in the program to train and equip the newly created drone assault units of the Ukrainian armed forces. In total, that's 11.5 billion euros.
NATO itself is interested in developing such protocols in order to actively engage with Ukraine, actively assist Ukraine, and implement that very initiative. For example, the purchase of American weapons with European funds, and at the same time to actively participate in the creation of new structures for a joint military-industrial complex with Europe.
Norway was also a pleasant surprise. For 2026, $7 billion have been allocated for Ukraine. This includes drones, air defense systems, artillery, as well as the purchase of weapons from the United States.
This particular country is exceptionally prosperous and is currently demonstrating a profound commitment by actively supporting Ukraine. Its substantial and ongoing financial contributions are now quite significant, effectively allowing it to cover the specific and critical gaps in resources that the United States does not provide at this time.
Belgium, Sweden, Denmark, Spain, Canada, Iceland, Australia, Portugal, Turkey, Slovenia, as well as the Baltic countries also joined the initiative at the recent Ramstein meeting. Most of those mentioned focused on procurement of American weapons.
The entire Kremlin strategy is based on dragging out time.
At the same time, it is worth noting that right after Ramstein, the next meeting of leaders on military issues is taking place at the Munich conference, and the fact that the US has come there for the first time with an expanded delegation clearly indicates that the states do not intend to distance themselves from the defense of Europe.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
But this is just the beginning. Washington has harshly and publicly condemned the Kremlin for its strikes on Ukraine. Zelensky's meeting with Secretary of State Marco Rubio put all the dots on the I's. America is preparing Poland for trilateral negotiations in Geneva. But if Putin is hoping for a backroom deal and the surrender of territory, he is gravely mistaken. Kyiv's position is rock solid. Donbas is Ukraine and we will not give it up. The United States has seen our resolve and the aggressor will have to curb their appetite. See more details in the report.
A world without rules. That is exactly how the 62nd Munich Security Conference opens. More than 50 leaders, hundreds of ministers, diplomats, and strategists are spending 3 days discussing not just security, but its disappearance.
Today's Munich conference will, in fact, be dedicated to this. That the European Union, Europe as a continent, must take strategic responsibility for its own security.
Munich has often been a turning point in history. 1938, here, Europe tried to appease Hitler.
I must say that the settlement of the Czechoslovak problem, which has now been resolved, is, in my view, only a prelude to a broader settlement in which all of Europe should find peace.
In 2007, Vladimir Putin announced a course toward revising the world order. We
have reached that pivotal moment when we must seriously reflect on the entire architecture. Global security.
In 2022, the West discussed how to respond to Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Now the question is whether a stable order is even possible, or if the world is finally shifting into a mode of situational deals.
We understand perfectly well that the United States is no longer willing to defend the European continent from potential attacks by the Russian Federation or from the strengthening of Russia's position by China.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky personally led the delegation. His agenda includes launching joint Ukrainian-German drone production, as well as a series of bilateral and multilateral meetings with partners.
We need more of our collaborative industrial productions, more of our unwavering collective resilience, and much more coordination and effectiveness within the common framework for our shared security architecture. In Europe,
the most significant thing we can achieve together is to end the war with a just peace and to create reliable security guarantees for Ukraine and for all of Europe.
It appears that another meeting has been added to the already packed schedule of the Ukrainian leader. A conversation with the head of American diplomacy, U.S. Secretary Marco Rubio.
I think he will be there and there's a chance to see him. I believe it's on my schedule. Although I can't be 100% sure, I'm convinced that we will meet.
In parallel with the Munich conference, Ukraine, the US, and Russia are preparing for a third round of negotiations, which could take place as soon as February 17th through 18th in Geneva. According to Bloomberg, the key issue will be the complex topic of territorial compromises, including a US proposal to create a buffer-free economic zone in Donbas. The president of Ukraine emphasized that both sides are skeptical of the American initiative and that the negotiations will focus on finding real security guarantees. Security guarantees, not symbolic solutions.
But how will Russia pay reparations after its defeat? After all, the country is officially in a debt pit. The aggressor's economy has hit a new low. The foreign debt has soared to its highest level in 20 years. Sanctions are working and the Federation is rapidly plunging into financial chaos. Does the Kremlin have even a ghost of a chance to escape this noose, or is default already knocking on the bunker door? All the details of the inevitable collapse are coming up next.
Russia owes nearly $62 billion to foreign creditors, which is a record for the past 20 years. Russia's external debt includes the government's obligations to non-residents in foreign currency. This is part of the country's total external debt, which also includes debts owed by state and private banks as well as various organizations.
Major financial institutions and Western creditors have essentially frozen and locked away various Russian state assets. So, to put it quite simply, Russia is currently not making payments on several $billion it owes to other countries, based on the latest reports provided by...
As of January 1st, 2026, the Bank of Russia estimated the country's external debt at $319.8 billion. In just 1 year, it increased by $30 billion, or 10.4%.
Furthermore, it is important to note that international export markets for Russian products are shrinking. For instance, we can see that China is currently buying less and less coal than before, and they have now almost completely stopped buying steel altogether. Furthermore, everyone is well aware of exactly what is happening with global oil prices lately. Consequently, the market price of Russian oil has practically dropped by nearly half of its previous value.
Due to sanctions and a collapsing economy, Russian companies have suffered a record loss of 7.5 trillion rubles, the largest in history. Since 2023, this figure has almost doubled.
The cost of servicing loans in Russia is very high, and the interest they pay is written off as production costs, which causes the cost price to rise sharply. In addition, the global markets for Russian products are continuously contracting and shrinking.
According to Rosstat data, the sectors suffering the most are metallurgy, oil refining, wholesale trade, and mineral extraction. Developers as well as enterprises in transport engineering and light industry are also experiencing difficulties.
A variety of distinct factors impact various industries. It depends on the domestic market. For example, if we look at developers, they build apartments, but no one is buying them. Accordingly, there is a crisis among developers and builders, and there's no end in sight. The largest company that was building housing has practically asked for help. It asked the government to cover its losses, but most likely the answer will be negative. And this is the first candidate for bankruptcy, a major bankruptcy.
A decline in investment and a flight of depositors from banks. Such a fate for his country was predicted by the deputy head of the State Duma Committee on Economic Policy, Nikolai Arefyev. Arefyev also stated that the central bank and the government are colluding to hide the real inflation rate. At the same time, the current budget is short by 5 trillion rubles.